Jenny Cockell was born in the United Kingdom in 1953, and from a very young age, she began experiencing something that would challenge rational explanations for the rest of her life. At the age of 4, she started having vivid memories of a life that didn't seem to be her own. These memories didn't refer to her own childhood, but to a woman named Mary Sutton, who supposedly lived in the 19th century in Ireland. As a child, Jenny began to describe, in detail, a life she claimed to have lived in a distant place, one she had never visited. She couldn't understand what was happening, but the memories came to her so clearly that it seemed impossible to ignore them. She recalled an old house, a rural setting, and the people she had lived with, all of whom seemed familiar to her, although they were in reality complete strangers. Jenny also remembered, with precision, a discomforting and lonely feeling of being a woman with small children, living in a time very different from her own. At the age of 4, Jenny couldn't fully express the emotions and thoughts these memories stirred in her. She had no way of understanding the concept of reincarnation or realizing that these could be related to a past life. To her, this was reality. These memories had a profound impact on Jenny's life. She couldn't understand why she felt so different from other children. The recollections of a past life seemed more real to her than her own childhood, and she often became obsessed with the idea that she had lived a life as Mary Sutton. Her parents, understandably confused, tried to help, but Jenny's experience seemed too strange to be explained in a simple way. Jenny was particularly disturbed by one memory that remained vivid in her mind: Mary Sutton's death. She recalled in great detail how the woman had passed away at the age of 40 after a prolonged suffering from an illness. These images weren't just disconnected fragments, but entire scenes that seemed like part of a film, with details becoming clearer over time. She also mentioned, with sadness, the children that Mary Sutton had left behind. She felt a strong connection to them, as if they were her own children, and worried about their fate after her death. She had never been to Ireland, and her parents didn't know of any Irish ancestry in her family. But still, the sense of familiarity with that place and those people felt incredibly strong. As she grew older, Jenny couldn't understand what was happening to her. She felt that her memories didn't match the life she was living, and the feelings of alienation grew. At the age of 9, Jenny began searching for answers. Though very young, she sought out books, talked to older people, and tried to understand if there was any logical explanation for what she was experiencing. However, as one might expect for someone her age, Jenny didn't find much support or understanding in her search. At 16, Jenny started to research more seriously, but once again, she came up empty-handed. Reincarnation was not a part of the culture or mindset of most people in her life. However, this quest for answers grew more intense, and she knew that she needed to learn more about Mary Sutton, even if it meant traveling to distant, unfamiliar places. At the age of 16, Jenny became even more committed to her research, as the urgency within her continued to rise. No longer satisfied with simply recounting her memories in private, she began to actively seek out any material that could shed light on what was happening. She scoured books, articles, and even reached out to spiritualists and psychics, hoping that someone could help her make sense of the memories that had taken root so deeply within her. Her early attempts at research were limited by the lack of information available at the time. Reincarnation, although not an entirely foreign concept, was still met with skepticism by the mainstream scientific community. and was largely dismissed as a subject of curiosity rather than serious academic study. However, Jenny was undeterred. She felt certain that her experiences were not random nor figments of her imagination. The emotional weight of her memories felt far too genuine to be explained by anything less than the reality of a past life. Jenny's journey led her to the study of reincarnation in a broader sense. She learned about other cases of individuals who reported memories of past lives, and in some instances, she found stories that seemed remarkably similar to her own. There were tales of people who had remembered details of lives long past, and some of them had even been able to verify the facts through historical records. These stories gave Jenny a sense of hope and validation, yet she knew that in order to fully understand her own memories, she needed to dive deeper into her personal connection to Mary Sutton. In her quest for more information, Jenny decided to travel to Ireland, the country that had been a central figure in her memories. She felt an inexplicable pull toward the land, even though she had never set foot there before. There was a deep, almost spiritual sense of familiarity that called her to Ireland, as though the very soil beneath her feet was part of her past. With a sense of purpose and determination, she set off on a journey that she hoped would reveal crucial clues about the life of Mary Sutton. Jenny arrived in a small rural village in Ireland, a place that seemed both unfamiliar and yet strangely comforting. She couldn't explain it, but the moment she arrived, she felt as though she was finally home. The narrow streets, the winding roads, and the quaint cottages all seemed to echo the images that had played out in her memories. She was overwhelmed by a sense of déjà vu, as though everything around her had been part of a life she had already lived. Although the local residents did not recognize her, Jenny felt as though she had been there before. It was a feeling so strong that it brought tears to her eyes. She explored the area extensively, visiting local landmarks and talking to the few residents who were willing to share their knowledge. She was overwhelmed by a sense of déjà vu, as though everything around her had been part of a life she had already lived. Although the local residents did not recognize her, Jenny felt as though she had been there before. It was a feeling so strong that it brought tears to her eyes. She explored the area extensively, visiting local landmarks and talking to the few residents who were willing to share their knowledge. Jenny's connection to the area seemed to grow with each passing day, and as she spent more time there, the memories of her past life seemed to become clearer. It was as though the landscape itself was unlocking the door to her forgotten history. Jenny's visit to the archives proved to be the breakthrough she had been seeking. After weeks of searching through old documents and records, she uncovered evidence that began to piece together the life of Mary Sutton. She found birth and death certificates, and most notably, a record of Mary's death from an illness at the age of 40. The details matched perfectly with what Jenny had remembered. The illness Mary had suffered from, the exact age at the time of her death, and even the way her family had struggled with her passing. All of these were eerily consistent with Jenny's recollections. But it wasn't just the facts that impressed Jenny. There were moments during her research that felt like a spiritual confirmation. When she stumbled upon certain documents, she could almost feel the presence of Mary Sutton standing beside her, as though urging her to keep going. It was a deeply emotional experience that gave Jenny the courage to continue her investigation, despite the skepticism and doubts from those around her. She also uncovered records of Mary's family, her children, whom Jenny had felt such a deep connection to. Jenny discovered that Mary had left behind 2 young children when she died. One of them was a boy named Thomas, and the other was a girl named Elizabeth. The names were familiar to Jenny, as she had often dreamed of them. And the bond she felt with these children was so real that it made her heart ache. The discovery of these records was a turning point in Jenny's journey. The proof that Mary Sutton had indeed existed, and that her memories matched up with the details in the historical documents, was overwhelming. For the first time, Jenny felt that her experiences were validated in a way that went beyond her personal feelings and memories. The turning point in Jenny's journey came when she received a letter from the Sutton family, who had been contacted by Jenny's researcher. The letter confirmed much of what Jenny had already discovered, including the identities of Mary's children and the details surrounding her death. The family's acknowledgement of Jenny's memories was, for her, a profound moment of validation. She felt that at last, her experiences were being recognized by those who had known Mary Sutton in real life. Despite the overwhelming evidence and the personal satisfaction of confirming her past life, Jenny knew that this would not be enough to convince skeptics or those who doubted the possibility of reincarnation. She had long since accepted that not everyone would believe her story, but she felt a strong need to share her findings with the world. The validation from the Sutton family and the historical records had given her the confidence to publicly tell her story, knowing that it could inspire others who had similar experiences. Jenny's case quickly became one of the most widely discussed examples of reincarnation. Researchers and spiritualists around the world were intrigued by the depth and specificity of her memories, and many saw her experience as compelling evidence of the existence of past lives. Jenny's story was featured in newspapers, books, and even documentaries, making her one of the most well-known modern-day cases of reincarnation. The emotional and psychological impact of her past life memories was profound for Jenny. While validating her past life as Mary Sutton brought her a sense of peace, it also left her with a heightened awareness of life, death, and the spiritual realm. Jenny began to see the world differently, as though her connection to the past had deepened her understanding of the human experience. Jenny's relationship with her own family also changed. She had always felt like an outsider, unable to fully relate to her parents or siblings. However, after discovering the truth about her past life, she began to feel a sense of belonging, not only to her own family, but to a larger, interconnected world. The memories of Mary Sutton gave her a sense of continuity beyond this lifetime, and she began to see herself as part of a larger cosmic cycle. Jenny also became involved in the reincarnation research community, working with scholars and experts who studied past life memories and spiritual phenomena. Her case contributed to ongoing discussions about the possibility of life after death and the nature of the soul. She took part in various conferences and discussions, where her experiences were considered both a personal journey and an important piece of the broader puzzle of reincarnation. As Jenny reflected on her journey, she came to some important conclusions about her past life memories and the role they played in her life. One of the most significant revelations she had was that reincarnation was not just a theory to be studied. It was a deeply personal experience that transcended intellectual understanding. Jenny felt that her memories were not merely an intellectual curiosity, but a powerful reminder of the interconnectedness of all lives, past and present. Her experience also brought her a deeper sense of empathy and understanding for the struggles of others. She recognized that the difficulties she had faced in her own life were not unique, but were part of a larger, universal experience of suffering and growth. Jenny came to believe that the memories of her past life had been given to her not only to validate the concept of reincarnation, but also to help her understand her own purpose in this life. Jenny's story has left a lasting legacy in the field of reincarnation research. While her case is not definitive proof of the existence of past lives, It has inspired countless others to explore their own memories and seek answers to questions about life and death. Her courage in sharing her personal experiences has helped to challenge the skepticism surrounding reincarnation and has opened the door for further investigation into the mysteries of the human soul. Jenny's work has also paved the way for others who may have experienced similar memories but were unsure how to express or validate them. She has become a symbol of hope and validation for many people who have struggled with their own unexplained memories and feelings of alienation. Through her journey, Jenny Cockell has contributed to a greater understanding of the potential for past lives to influence our present experiences and to shape our perceptions of the world. Ultimately, Jenny Cockell's story is one of profound personal transformation. Her search for answers, the discovery of her past life as Mary Sutton, and the validation she received from historical records and the Sutton family all helped to bring clarity to her understanding of the spiritual nature of existence. Her case serves as a powerful reminder that our memories and experiences are often more than what they seem, and that there may be deeper connections between our lives and the souls of those who came before us.